Let's bring in Dave Naylor from TSN CFL Insider. Nails, good to see you, my friend. Far too long since I've seen you. What's the latest on the CFL's proposal to the government and return to play? How are you feeling about things?
Well, I feel pretty good about this. I mean, basically, you've got a two-pronged approach coming from the league to the levels of various provincial governments, health jurisdictions, authorities, et cetera. And this is the first one, which is rolling out basically to say, here's how we would like to stage football games, practices, team activities as such. And on this one, they got a big head start, right? Because a lot of this stuff was worked through between the league and the Players Association last summer, specific to the Winnipeg bubble. But you can amend a lot of the protocols that you were using to develop team activities and playing football safely then to in the respective 9 stadiums. The other thing is that, a lot of this is going to be modeled on what's been done with the National Hockey League. And from what I'm led to believe, there are people that worked on the National Hockey League proposal that are involved in the CFL's proposal. There's some medical professionals that work for teams in both leagues. And so it's not like the CFL had to get out sort of a blank stack of paper, a month ago and say, gee, how do we do this? Like they've had a bit of a running head start at it. But this is the easy part, right? Like getting football games approved to be staged in a professional league. Yeah, it's got to be specific and it's got to be, very comprehensive. But this is what I would think is the more likely check mark. The one that's more difficult is when we see proposals about putting fans in stadiums. And that's going to be a while because whether we've got, I'll just use Ontario as an example, whether we've got 1,000 new cases or 100 new cases a day in Ontario, I don't think the protocol that the league is submitting to the provinces really changes, But the protocol for stadium safety may be very different based on where the virus is, the vaccine rollout, the new variants, those kinds of things. So that one, I think, is a little more susceptible to the ever-changing conditions than this first one.
What is your read on veterans retiring? 2 in the last 24 hours. Brandon Rutley this morning and Ricky College Jr. Thursday.
I think it's 2 things. I think one is we knew that if you were not early in free agency, there wasn't going to be a lot of money left for most guys. So I'm sure these guys are getting offers that are like anybody in your career. When you've made a certain amount, used to playing for a certain amount of money, and then somebody asks you to play for less, that's just not something you're willing to do, especially in a case, of a guy like Ricky Collins, who had a 1,000-yard season last year with Edmonton. So, I mean, he's looking at it saying, hey, wait a minute, I've proved myself in this league. I suspect, and this is my speculation, that it's not just the salaries they're being offered, but the uncertainty about whether they're going to play and if they're going to give up other things in their lives or turn down opportunities or things like that for a season that may or may not begin on time. I strongly believe not, and may or may not happen. I strongly believe will in some form. But I'm sure they're hearing the drumbeat that people in the media and otherwise are saying about the unlikelihood of a season starting on time. So, they understand, they do the math on their salaries. If you play 2/3 of a season, they're going to get 2/3 of their salary. You play half a season, they're going to get half a salary. So, and look, and I think we saw with James Wilder last year. He retired, went and did some other things, opportunity to play again, boom, phone call away, right? So could these guys be back in the league if we're playing by August? Sure, they could. There's nothing preventing them from doing so, to my understanding. So, but I do think it is. I do think that was this a regular season with these guys? Start everything sort of back to normal in the economics of the league standard. I'm sure there are players that would play in that environment that are not totally excited about playing in this. I mean, and it goes back to last year, Rod. Like I had players last year tell me point blank, if we play a shortened season in a bubble in Winnipeg, I will not be there. No way. For 8 weeks pay. No. So, it's all sort of consistent with what we've been going through for a while.
And these guys that are retiring are all young fathers. These are men playing a boys' game, and they got to grow up. They got bills to pay. That's just the way. Yeah.
We see this in the CFL all the time. And when you see it usually is right at training camp, right? You ever notice when training camp opens, all of a sudden, like every team's putting out 3 or 4 releases of over the first, week before the start of training camp till the weekend, where there are all these guys who were, sitting on the fence till May. And then May comes and they got to make a choice. And some of them say, I'm going to camp. I'm going to Canada to play football. And others say, yeah, look at the circumstance of my life, I'm going to do something else. It happens every year. So it's not that exceptional, in this league where guys are not making, life-changing money.
Absolutely. Hey, my last one for you. We just got a couple minutes. Isn't it delicious to watch the angst at the Argos? The hate, actually, from CFL fans across the country at all their signings. What's your read on what's going down there?
Well, I think there are going to be some moves that are going to have to be made. I mean, the offseason, I always hear all these questions about, are they over the salary cap? Are they over the salary cap? Like, there's no offseason salary cap. Unless there's something here I don't know. I mean, the salary cap is essentially accounted at the end of a CFL season on how much you spent on players over the course of the season. And with so little signing bonus money being laid out in the offseason, that gives you lots of opportunities to sign guys without having to commit money. And that's, again, I don't know what the Argos plans are, but it's hard to sign guys with money up front and then cut them in training camp because that's money you've wasted off the salary cap. If you're not giving out signing bonus money, you can sign all the guys you want, and there's nothing stopping you from cutting guys before you get to the season. Because it would seem at certain positions, they aren't going to have, they're not going to be able to carry everybody. And maybe this is just good competition. But the players going in, probably looking at that roster and knowing not all of them are going to see the field in week number 1.
Right, and they all think they won't be the one that gets cut because that's their mentality.
The way these guys think. Absolutely. That's the way they're trained to think. Yeah.
Right. All right, Nails, we got to run, but thanks. A lot of info here. I appreciate it. Stay well, my friend.
Yeah, sorry for the shortened segment with the technical delays. You want to do this again sometime soon, let me know, Rod. Great to be on.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, David.
See ya. Bye.
David William Naylor joining us from TSN. Good friend of John Frenzy from back in the day.
Great guy.
Hey, real quick, great guy. Well, winner all the way, as you would say.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.